Hello, everyone. Welcome to another insightful episode of Expert Edge series, where I bring you insights from the most inspiring and accomplished professionals regarding personal and professional transformation. Today, I have the immense honor of hosting Divya Mehta, who is a transformational and happiness coach, helping middle aged professionals to become happy and maintain a healthy work life balance. And she's my good friend. She's also an author of the book. So, welcome Divya to this episode.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, for having me over on your show. Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity to interact with you like this.
Before we proceed, I just want you to let the viewers know a little bit about yourself. And you have authored a book, or more than that, can you talk something about the book that you have authored?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to tell that I am a happiness and transformational coach, mind hacker, and also an author, as you said. And I have like one book is authored solely by me, and that is like Guide to Happy and Joyful Life, a life of fulfillment. And that is basically about happiness, like it talks about that how to like do material benefits give happiness, and what exactly is happiness, what is true happiness, and what is this temporary happiness. And it also talks about certain other things like kindness and courage, and some other aspects also are covered in that. So that's what basically it's about. And there is another one which I have co-authored with 14 more authors.
Wow.
That's called Celebrating Relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically everyone has written, like we are all women authors who have written this book, and everyone has written from their own life. It's basically about relationships, as the topic says. So yeah. So this is about my journey as an author.
Oh, thank you so much for giving a brief introduction. Now, my first question to you would be, what inspired you to focus on helping people achieve happiness and balance in their careers? What took you from your corporate journey to this journey?
Right. So actually, I have worked in the in various organizations for and companies for more than 2 decades. So during that time, what I observed was that there was time for me to to come out of the house, and there was fixed time when I would come out of the house and reach the office. But there was no fixed time when I was coming back home. Normally, I would come back very late. So, and many times, I would miss many of the family get-togethers and the important days of the loved ones, of the family members. Although my immediate family would understand, but some other relatives would ask me that, what kind of job are you doing? What kind of work are you doing? Are you happy? So my answer although was that, yes, I love my job, I'm happy. But the true thing was that I was really feeling sad and upset because I was not able to manage my work and personal life, and that is what really inspired me to work with people to help them achieve happiness and balance in their career.
Got it. Beautifully explained. Now, I would like you to ask you, when we talk about the work-life balance, it's so much in today's day when we are carrying our work pressure to our family, and that is a major cause of having a differences in the family between spouse and father, mother, whatever. So what do you think, what are the common barriers do you see that prevent people from achieving that work-life balance that everyone should have?
Yeah, sure. Like the common barriers, I would say, are basically there is people there is excessive workload. Employees have so much work that they are not able to complete within the time frame, that is within 9 to 6 or 9:30 to 6:30, and they normally have to stretch. So I mean, they're so overburdened with work. So I mean, what should be done is that managers should review the workload and they should see that who's stressed up and who has the bandwidth to do more. And as for that, the workload should be distributed or the work should be assigned. And another barrier I would say is long working hours. Normally, in the corporates, their working hours are very long, and people hardly have any time for work, like for their personal life, they hardly have any time. And another thing I would say is that sometimes it's the stringent policies of the companies, rules and policies of the companies, which don't allow flexible working hours. Although in pandemic, like everyone was working from home, so in a way their working hours were flexible. But otherwise, like now when everything has opened up, so I mean it's been long since everything has opened up. So now, like some of the companies have very rigid, stringent policies that they will not allow flexible working hours, and they are not even allowing now to work from home. And this is especially, for women, who have family responsibilities also. I mean, men also have, but what I mean is the household responsibilities also. So for them, it becomes difficult to, balance between the work and the and their personal life. And another thing that I would like to say is that the time pressures. I understand, like we need to have, there are a lot of deadlines. I understand we need to have deadlines for work, but the thing is that sometimes, these deadlines are not realistic, and you have to really slog, you have to really slog for it, and so that makes it difficult to, maintain a work-life balance. And another point which is coming to my mind is that, at some workplaces, the environment is very hostile. So when the environment is hostile, then you feel very, what should I say, hostile in the sense that there is discrimination, there's harassment, there's bullying. And when all this is there, it leads to a lot of dissatisfaction. And when there's dissatisfaction at work, this adversely affects the work-life balance also. So I think these are some of the barriers. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Divya. So when you talk about when was an important point which managers should understand the work that has to be distributed equally. So I just got reminded of one of my last organizations wherein manager was able to analyze that who can do this work efficiently. So whenever there was a work pressure, there were few associates who were so tenured and so skilled at their job that they had to stretch. And when there are certain people who are tenured, but they do it just for the time they have been assigned to do a work. So their jargon was, jitna pagar utna kaam. So they used to follow this policy, wherein there were others who used to stretch themselves. So these managers were very much sure who can deliver it on time, even if they need to stretch, and they are in the good books. And these frustrated employees, because they are skilled at doing that, but at times, I heard this statement, cursing the one who was supposed to do it, but he is not doing it, cursing the one, saying, there is a Hindi jargon which is bane raho pagla kaam kare agla. So that's what was the mimicry going on. When we talk about managers, do understand who is skilled to do something and who is not skilled to do something. So this particular thing, I just got reminded of how managers should do if there is a need to provide additional training, or if you see that this particular person, even after being with this department, is not able to help you in strict deadline time, when there is a work pressure, then this person might need a department shift, or this department might not be the perfect fit for this person. So what do you think on that?
Many times, I think like certain people are a misfit for a certain department. So managers should see to that also, and then maybe they can put them somewhere what they are good at, because all of us are good at certain things. I mean, I'm not saying that we should not try other things, we should try. But in that situation, when the work pressure is too much and there are deadlines, so I think it's better that person will perform better what they are good at, instead of doing what they find it maybe difficult, or they're uncomfortable with doing that. So I mean, they don't have to get into their comfort zone, but still this will really help at the time when there is a lot of work pressure. And it will make that employee or that team member also feel better. Like, I mean, so there will not be that much stress on that person. So that's what I feel. That's my point.
Wow, that's a nice explanation, Divya. So, when we are in corporates, we do have a habit of, when certain tasks are in our list, email, or maybe all of a sudden something came up, and you being the tenured one, you have to handle that. A lot of times this things comes. So there comes a point when you are being called in a meeting room and you were informed about the seriousness of this thing, although you have certain things at hand which has a stringent deadline, but still this is important for the organization, for the department, which has a really stringent deadline. So there comes a point of multitasking, right? So someone who is not productive doing multitasking of watching the social media while working, or being on phone, or talking to their spouse, or trying to resolve the matters that are at home rather than trying to resolve the matters that are at workplace. So there are a lot of different type of multitasking that is happening at corporates, and I have witnessed that firsthand, being there, done that from last 15 years. So what do you think? Should the employees do multitasking, or they should just focus like blinders on horses' eyes, and then they focus should be on one thing?
Yeah, in most of the companies, I know people do multitasking, because I mean I think that is the need of the hour, or I mean they need to do it. But what I believe is that multitasking has benefits also, but it has disadvantages as well. So on one hand, it will help you to manage your time well, and you'll also be really be able to fulfill multiple responsibilities. But on the other hand, it will decrease your productivity, and you'll start having more errors in your work if you do multitasking. So maybe you are working on some project, and meanwhile you're talking on the phone, so that will lead to mistakes in your work. That is one of the I would say disadvantages of multitasking. So what is my opinion, and what I would suggest is that employees should focus on one task at a time, and especially when doing some very complex work or high stake work, at that time they should definitely concentrate on one thing at a time. So I mean, this will really increase their productivity, and they'll be able to do the work in a much better way. So that's what I would say. Yeah, that's my
Yeah, beautifully explained. Yeah. I will tell you one thing that I realized when I was a line manager in one of my organizations. So at that point of time, when we talk about understanding which task is important and which task is not important, at that point in time, we used to follow the Eisenhower matrix, which says something like, you need to bifurcate your task into 4 buckets, which is urgent and important, urgent but not important, important but not urgent, and neither urgent nor important. So that's how you need to divide your task and prioritize accordingly, which is urgent and important first, urgent but not important, and that's how you calculate your task. But when we talk about, when I was there being a manager, I used to inform my associates or tell my associates, hey, this can be pushed for a day or two, this is something really important. So when I took my journey from being a line manager or a team leader to a coach, that's when I realized that it is imperative for people to analyze rather than a manager or a senior manager or an office manager sitting on their head and telling them that this is important. there has to be an understanding looking at the gravity of the situation. So most of the times it so happens that managers or leaders are so indulged in their particular designation that they have a tendency of telling people what to do and what not to do, and mostly this is taken as, bossy thing, and this is taken as you are ordering me to do something. It may not be that, because these leaders are not coming from a place wherein they want to rule you. However, there is a concept that they want to help you so that you can understand what task is important and which is not important. Do you have any say on that?
Yeah, it's important to prioritize tasks. That's very important, like prioritizing tasks and time blocking. All these techniques are really helpful, and they reduce the need for multitasking. And I remember, when you were saying this, I just remember, once in the beginning of my career, I mean, that time I was new. So, one of my managers, she told me that, because, what I was doing is that, I was talking on the phone also, then, I was doing one thing, and then I would, in the middle of that, I would start doing second thing, and then I would do third thing. So, she said, if you're going to work like this, you will not be able to accomplish anything. You will not be able to do even a single task. So what I suggest is you complete one task, then you take on the other, and then the third one. And then she also told me that I'm telling you, since you are still a fresher, or you are a person who just started working, so that's why I'm telling you. But I think that you should analyze it yourself only, how you need to do your work, how you need to manage your work. So that's, I was reminded of that incident when you just said that some managers, they are looked upon as that they are really forcing it on you, or they want to control everything. So yeah, once you are tenured, then you will be able to manage it yourself. You know how to prioritize, when to do what is important, what is urgent. Then you will understand. But I think initial days of the career, you need some support. So I mean that time it's fine if your leader or manager tells you that do like this or do like this, and it depends on different personality types also. Maybe some people need more support, some people might not need that much support, so it depends on that as well. Yes, that's good. That's what I would say.
And when we talk about being mindful of what we are doing right now, if you are working for 8 hours or 9 hours, so there's something called mindfulness and be happy. And if you are you have a feeling of being stuck or stagnant, happiness cannot be in your work, in your mind or brain or body, and that will definitely reflect on your work on a day-to-day basis. So what do you think? How do you incorporate mindfulness or self-care practices into your coaching sessions so that the clients can get benefited?
Yeah, what I do is that I normally start my sessions with mindful exercises like deep breathing or some kind of meditation, so that the clients get centered. So that's how I start, and then I really encourage them to to have a gratitude journal. So in that they can every day they can write 3 things that they are grateful for. And besides that, what I suggest, what I encourage them is that they should have a morning routine, and every day they should do some kind of physical activity. I mean, it can be walking, jogging, yoga, or gym. Whatever is suited to them, they can do that. And besides that, while working, I encourage them that they take breaks after every few hours. So this will really recharge them, and then you feel it recharges you, and you start feeling much better. And besides that, some other practices which I like encourage them to follow is like like they should in a year definitely. I mean, I know it's difficult to get leave like in corporates, like it's in multinationals, like it's very difficult to get leave, but at least once in a year, like they should take leave and in that leave, whether they want to go for a vacation to some destination or they want to just spend time with their family, I mean, at their home only. So, or visit some friends and relatives, whatever they want to do. But they should definitely at least once in a year they should take a break or a vacation, and go out somewhere.
Yeah, that's
and I also.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's okay. You're saying something. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got reminded of, when we talk about the corporates, they have in my last organization, they had a very beautiful system, So in a year, everyone is getting 25 to 28 to 35 leaves on a yearly basis. And they had this particular policy, which I loved, They had this policy that if you are working in an organization, there has to be a long leave that you have to plan. So it can go anywhere from 7 to 10 days. So you have to take a week or 2 weeks at a stretch and you cannot break it. So that thing will help you, plan something maybe within the country, within the city, or something wherein you can enjoy and get decluttered with all that is happening around. And you get a sense of self-worth and satisfaction. So that I really I have not seen that happening in all the other companies or organizations, but this company has this policy. So my last organization was Willis Towers Watson. They have this very beautiful policy, and we used to plan for our associates. Okay, come. So every week, every month, last week or maybe start of the week, we need to sit with all the associates and ask them, okay, here and here, these are the free slots available, and that's how we planned. And it is not all of a sudden. You have the ability to change it later on if there are any clashes or something, or in case of emergency. But these leaves used to get planned start of the year itself. So once you're planning it, you have complete quarter or half a year or complete year to plan accordingly. That's a very important aspect, and I think most of the organizations needs to follow to help their associates or their people declutter themselves and come out lively. What do you think?
Yes, in fact, when you said this, it reminded me, in one of the organizations where also I worked, I was the one who used to take very less leave. And and the first year when I joined that organization, I didn't know much about their policy, although it was there in the appointment letter and all, but I didn't notice it much. And so they told me that when it was end of the year, they told me, Divya, my manager called me, and she said that Divya, you have to go for a leave now. I was I just looked like this, what is she saying? So she said, no, because you have not taken any leave. In the sense, I mean, besides sick leave and all that, so you have not taken any leave, so now it's your time to take leave. So I said, I was just looking like this. He said, no, we have this policy that it is mandatory for every employer to take 2 weeks of leave. So since you have not taken, so I'm telling you that you need to take it now. Within 1 or 2 days, please, as you have not planned it earlier, so now you need to take it. So I was really amazed. I said, wow, this is really good. And so that's how, then from next year I started planning before that, when I'm going to take leave and all. So that year I didn't know. So that's how, I was reminded of this only. Yeah, this is a very good, policy or a very good, thing to do, that you should really encourage and push your employees that definitely sometimes they also need for themselves, and they need to take care of themselves and be with their families and do whatever they love doing. So yeah, that's a very good practice, I would say.
Yeah, and when we talk about employees being happy at doing what they are doing or what they do, there are a lot of times when they get carried away with whatever they're doing, right? So they will want to follow a particular morning routine, as you suggested. There has to be a morning routine. Then once they are home, they should not carry their work at home, and that's how they should plan. But basically what happens is, at night we sleep with the thought that, okay, tomorrow morning we have this project, tomorrow morning we have this meeting, tomorrow morning we have to go at work, early. So there is a tendency that is happening that, I believe we work for living and not live for working, but that is completely opposite in corporates. That's happening. They sleep off for going to work, they go and then they come back after 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours, whatever, with the spiral that is happening. And then they are missing that family time with their closed ones, also loved, and the closed ones. So I have a say, how do you manage when we talk about the work life balance? How do you suggest them to manage? And it is not possible that if there is a medical emergency that happened at your place, you will not have that thing in mind when you are at work. And it cannot be possible that if there is a difficult day at work, you will not carry that at home. It will happen. But how do you suggest, or what are the ideas that you have for viewers to know how they can minimize the occurrences that is happening? It cannot be a norm, it can be instances. So there is a hell lot of difference between instances and norms.
Yeah, definitely. There's a difference between the two. So what I would say is that instead of letting it linger and reach that point, when you're so stressed up that you can't take it anymore, like along the way only, we should be taking care of these things. Like we should, what we need to do is that when like even I think even the companies should encourage this break culture, I would say. Like they need to, I mean, and that is for the employees' well-being only, for their happiness only. And they should, in the team meetings, the managers should take the lead, and in the manager or leaders should take the lead, and in the team meetings they should tell their team members that how important it is for them to take a break, and the managers need to take a lead themselves only. I think I did say this before also. So that's very important, and they need to take out every day some time to do activities which they really love doing. So this will really help them to feel fresh and recharge themselves after a long day's work and a very tiring work day. And once they come back home, like it should be like this, that although we do say, but I can understand, because even when I was working full time, like it used to happen, even after you come back home, still if you have some work and if you have laptop with you, then you will start having dinner, and then you again start seeing what is there for tomorrow and what do I need to do tomorrow, and is there anything which I had planned for today and it is not done. Mm-hmm. So all that we tend to do, but that is, I would not suggest that we do that. I mean, once you are at work, you fully concentrate over there, and once at home, you be fully present, like what they say, mindfulness, be fully present with your family and at your home. So it should be, that's how I think they can manage to have, work-life balance, and they can also, keep on reviewing their progress, that where they started, and have they started doing these things now. They should review it on regular basis. Like in my coaching sessions, I do this with my clients also. I review their progress, and then we celebrate any small wins or successes. And we also, I mean, together, if somebody has been able to do that, then we celebrate it, and help them to make any changes if required. So all these things like this will really help to maintain work-life balance, and for you to be a more happier person in your career, because you will be happy in your career only when you love what you're doing. Because if you don't love what you're doing, if you're just going on that it's a routine and you just have to do, so you go on doing it, this and then this, then you will never enjoy your work, and there will be no work-life balance also. Either you'll be only working, and you'll be missing out on your personal life, or you'll be all the time, frustrated and irritated, that I'm spending so much time at work, and I'm not going to give time to my family. uh, so I think these are some of the things which will help them really to maintain work-life balance, and even like physical activity is also very important. It should not be like this that they have no time in the morning. They say, no, I have to go to office now. The meeting is at this time, so there's no time. When do I exercise? A lot of my clients say this, that you are saying you have morning routine, but we have no time. So how do we do exercise in the morning? So I mean, you have to set your routine in such a way that you have time for exercise also. Otherwise, again, it will be just work, and and like we say that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So I mean, that is said in some other context. But what I'm trying to say is that that's what it is applicable here also, that you need to have some time for yourself, your family, and to enjoy. Yeah, that's what I want to say. I hope it answers what you were asking.
Yeah, that's an important perspective, Divya. And I would like to say something. When we talk about we should get some time for physical activity or mindfulness or even meditation for some time. And I religiously follow this. If you will not get time, your body will make you get that time from you, right? Because we say that, so in corporates, it is very famous that we know everything. All the managers and ops managers and HOs and HOD, when we talk to them, they say that they think that they know everything. And that is the thing. There is a notion in corporates that if you are going to a coach, if you are talking to a coach, that means even the family members of these people say that, is there any problem? Are you facing any mental problem? You're going to a coach. So they think meeting a coach or getting guidance by a coach is more like going to a therapist or a psychologist, which is exactly not the case. And that is my reason for starting this episode, Expert Edge series, so that people can get an understanding that whatever was there inside them took them to this level. But in order to move from here to there, you need a push, and coach is that push. So what do you think? And also let me know, Divya, and let the viewers know, whom do you coach, and who are those people who should be contacting you, and how?
Yeah, I basically help middle-aged professionals to grow in their career, to be happy in their career, and also at the same time maintain work-life balance. So if you are facing any issue with your career regarding that you are not happy in your career, like you have no career happiness and you have no balance, then I am the go-to person. That's what I would say. And also, if you have, it's maybe, and many times, these things, they can be related to your mindset also, because that's how you think that, I'm not able to do this. I mean, if you think that way, then definitely it will not happen. So, I mean, I think we need to really take action on that and do things in a particular way, so that you are able to, do justice to your work as well as to your personal commitments and responsibilities. That's what.
Thank you so much, Divya. And update the link of your books. That must be there on Amazon, right?
Yes, there on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll update your contact details, in the sense your LinkedIn profile and other details, on the description channel. So if any one of you, if you would like to get any insights from Divya, any help from Divya in order to maintain a perfect work-life balance and stay happy, so just go in the description section and connect with Divya. Stay tuned for more episodes of Expert Edge series. Thanks a lot, Divya, for joining me today, and you were simply awesome.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, for the amazing opportunity. And even Jyoti is a amazing coach. So and I think we both are like we have the same thing, like we are taking care of mid-age professionals. And for your career related things, even Jyoti is the go-to person. Yeah, and thank you so much. It was really great talking to you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Divya, for those nice words. So every one of you who is following me, and if you're not following me, start following me. And until next time, keep growing, keep challenging yourself, and keep breaking boundaries. Thank you so much, Divya. Take care. Thank you, everyone.